Welcome to an abbreviated session of the Exceptional Family Resource Center's Parenting Hacks series. In this session, we will discuss your child's sleep, and more specifically, some practical strategies for improving children's sleep and, by extension, your sleep. EFRC offers this as informational only. This session was created by parents for parents. If you have concerns about your child's physical or mental health, please contact a health professional. Let's start with 4 big ideas about sleep. Sleep is critical for your child. Poor sleep can negatively affect almost every aspect of your child's awake hours. Thinking and learning, emotions, behaviors, and physical health are impacted when children do not receive enough sleep. Chronic sleep deprivation takes its toll on youngsters, but it also impacts their parents, their siblings, and other members of the household. One study found that, quote, even relatively moderate sleep restriction can seriously impair waking neurobehavioral functions in healthy adults, unquote. It's not your imagination if you notice changes in your memory, increased irritability, a sense of brain fog when you're not getting very good sleep. We want to be good partners, good parents, and good employees. Sleep, along with diet and exercise, are key components of bringing our best selves to our relationships and to tasks. Perhaps you've heard of these mythical creatures: a newborn who sleeps through the night, her very first night home from the hospital, an infant who napped like clockwork between 1 and 3 p.m., no matter who rings the doorbell or jackhammers outside the apartment building, that toddler who's never tried to climb out of her crib, those preschoolers who can nap during nap time. But if these slides and photos look more realistic, you are in the right place. One big idea is that you are not alone. Sleep is a huge concern for parents, and there's a good reason for the proliferation of bedtime stories. Not only do about 1/4 to 1/2 of American parents report that their 4-month-olds to 14-year-olds do not sleep the recommended hours per day, but as they grow, kids sleep fewer hours. The recommended hours of sleep per day by age: up to 12 hours for ages 4 to 12 months, up to 11 hours for ages 1 to 2 years, up to 10 hours for ages 3 to 5 years, 9 hours for ages 6 to 12 years, and 8 hours for ages 13 to 14 years. As parents, we have 3 main tools for encouraging children to go to sleep and stay asleep: sleep hygiene, or controlling the environmental factors of the sleeping space. We can use bedtime routines, or the process of moving from daytime activity to nighttime rest. We link daily activities together in a way that, with repetition, helps our children to expect that it's time to go to sleep. And behavioral principles. And by this, I mean how you as a parent respond to your child's sleep challenges. Behavioral principles imply consistent, positive reinforcement. We are parents who set firm, loving boundaries. When we try to change a behavior, we are in effect changing the rules on our child, and it might take them a while to adjust. During this time, it is common for a child to protest change. Sometimes, in this case, by leaving a sleeping space. Sometimes by being loud about his discomfort. Change can be hard, and change requires everyone's commitment. But let's focus first on bedtime routines. For youngsters with developmental disabilities, consistency is an important influence on learning. So first, let's talk about personalizing a bedtime routine for your child. You can ask yourself the following questions. What are my child's preferences and aversions? What seems to calm my child? Are there any times, activities, or settings in which my child naturally becomes sleepy? And what is the optimal bedtime given our unique family? With these answers, you can look through this list. You can add to this list. Maybe you have to pick up someone at a particular time in the evening. Or maybe a parent is returning from work, so greeting that parent might be something to factor into your family's unique bedtime routine. Warning, you do not need 20 activities to create a bedtime routine. Select just a few that you can commit to using consistently to help your child identify that it's time to go to bed. You will want to consider what actually must happen before bedtime. You'll want to think about how much support your child needs and what family member or other helper might be available to provide that support. You can devise, and by that I mean write down, the order that you predict would make sense for your bedtime routine. Speaking of prompts, you might have to start with maximum obvious prompting, since many of the bedtime routines might involve new skills for your youngster. Obviously, the goal is that your child will require less and less assistance to complete the task and to navigate the routine and to go to bed in an emotionally regulated state. On this slide, I give some examples of physical, partial physical, verbal, modeling, gestural, object or positional prompts, as well as visual prompts that might help to signal that the day is closing. Some strategies you might try using a softer, a deeper, or slower voice. You might talk about using gestures or signs to be able to speak a little bit less. You also might try lower lighting or very slow movements as other ways to signal that the day is closing. Even after all this planning, we may not get it right the first time. Ask yourself and your support person what is and what isn't working. As the parent, you are driving this process. Your child will keep learning and changing throughout her life, and that includes aspects of transitioning from activity to rest. You might want to put more of the less fun activities earlier into the routine, or you might choose to intersperse them. You will want to end the bedtime routine with the most relaxing activities to signal that time for rest. For some youngsters, bath time is relaxing. For others, it energizes them. Be strategic, keep safety in mind. Some children might have medication and might be not so enthusiastic about taking medication. If so, you might want to build that into the schedule immediately before a highly preferred activity. Brushing teeth is a challenge. It might be easier to do before the floor is wet from bath time. Reading books aloud is another example of a great transition into bedtime. Perhaps you start with one book on the couch and then relocate to the bedroom floor for another story, and then move the child to his bed for the last story. Functional, effective sleep habits take time to establish. The rest of this parenting hack will give you suggestions for how to get to your dream state. That is, from dreaming of sleep to actually dreaming. Tip 1, take data. Medical professionals hear a lot of complaints about sleep, so be ready to provide detailed information about how many times per night your child wakes up, how long it takes between putting your child to bed and your child actually falling asleep, and how many hours per night your child is sleeping. There's also a selfish reason for you to collect data. It can help a weary parent to differentiate between one bad night and a trend. It can help a parent recognize the impact of the effort you're making. It can help you identify even small improvements. And it can help you recognize patterns and connections between a bad night's sleep and a bad following day, or see the pattern between a long walk before dinner and an easier bedtime. Tip 2, evaluate your child's screen time. A variety of studies link screen time to sleep problems, and at a minimum, protect that last 30 minutes to 1 hour and try to keep it entirely screen-free. If you're too tired to sing or to read, audio only is an alternative with you controlling the device. Tip 3, how you leverage daytime can affect how smoothly bedtime happens. Kids benefit from active play, and there's thought that sunlight, natural light, is important in helping to shape our sleep patterns. And of course, as preschoolers grow and require fewer hours of sleep, those naps, and I know this is sadness for busy and tired parents, those naps may need to be shortened or eliminated. Remember the term sleep hygiene? You will want to maximize how comfortable your child is as their bedtime approaches. Timing meals, making sure that their sleeping space is cool but not cold, supporting a sense of safety and security, and possibly limiting fluids before bedtime are all ways that you can make sure that your child's really comfortable. Tip 5, whether it's a commitment to exercise or better nutritional choices or working toward better sleep, you can ask others to help support you. You might not be available to chat on the phone during bedtime. You might need help to make a visual schedule. Or you might want to ask one of your other children to help with a particular part of the new routine. If your child receives behavioral consultation, I highly encourage you to utilize the behavioral consultation or parent training to help you with specific visual schedules for your child's pre-bed routine. Tip 6, if your child's sleep is highly dysregulated or irregular, consider consulting your child's primary care provider. Some youngsters may require further evaluation or benefit from treatment. Tip 7, whenever we are trying to change a deeply rooted behavior, it can take repeated experience for the behavior to change. For example, if your child currently sleeps in your bed, it isn't very likely that anything in this presentation or any presentation will help you have him sleep in his toddler bed on the very first night you try. More likely, you will have to help him understand that he cannot sleep in your bed anymore, and maybe you will set up a sleeping bag on the floor next to your bed for the first few nights. He can still see you, he can still hear you, but he just can't be in the bed. Maybe his sleeping bag moves closer to his room next. Maybe his sleeping bag moves into the actual bedroom. And eventually, his sleeping bag migrates into his own bed. In this way, the first goal is just that you have a less crowded sleeping space of your own. The next goal is that your child associates the sleeping bag as his own. And the final goal is that he sleeps in his own bed. The takeaway is we're going to try for realistic expectations. And tip 8, life happens. Sometimes things start getting better, and then life happens. Setbacks happen. Our kids really struggled when the clocks sprang forward or fell back. We usually had a week or more of discombobulation. Little ones can have nightmares. A babysitter or a grandparent can do things the quote wrong way, unquote. A new sibling could arrive, and now there's excitement, a night again, noise, lights, attention to somebody else. Overnight travel means that we're not at home with our stuff, and that can wreak havoc with our hard-earned rhythms. Colds, fevers, flus, croups, they can get us out of our good routines, and sometimes it takes a week or so to return everyone back to that good routine. Special occasions can also interfere with bedtime. And again, it can take a while to kind of recover from that sleep interruption. While it's disappointing, things do and can get back on track as those issues resolve and we go back to implementing that solid routine. There are a variety of resources about sleep, including the local Center for Healthy Sleep at Rady Children's Hospital. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the Exceptional Family Resource Center for a copy of the slides used in this presentation, or for other resources or supports for you, your child, or your family. Thanks for watching, and here's to a better night's sleep soon.